briefing workshops. Now, some of you were involved in one of these yesterday. Simple, easy to organise working sessions where people work in small groups to identify key issues and possible solutions. Every facilitator has a different way of running meetings. This particular approach always seems to work well. You ask people to write down on little post-it notes or cards their own particular ideas about their dislikes, their likes, and their ideas for improvement. These are then sorted out by small groups, and as you can see here, and then presented back to the plenary session of everybody, and in a very short period of time you can generate a huge amount of interest. You can really find out what people are thinking, and people begin to get engaged in the debate. Design workshops, similar kind of process, but using maps and plans, getting people involved in actually looking at the details of geographical issues. Hands-on sessions allowing small groups of professionals and non-professionals to work creatively together, developing proposals. Models, very effective for getting people involved, particularly children. There are various different kinds of models. Here on the left you can see a paper one with buildings made out of cardboard and stuck onto a base plan. In the centre we've got a block model made out of wood, very robust. You can take them outside in the rain and they won't get damaged. I like this one on the right, which is a model used to involve blind people in designing a building for the blind. And the bottom image on the right just makes the point that if people get involved in helping to make those models, that helps them to get involved in understanding their environments in 3 dimensions. Ideas competitions. People often think, particularly architects and professionals, think that involving people is going to slow down the process, it is going to lead to unimaginative design, because obviously only architects have imagination. And ideas competitions are a fantastically good way of stimulating creative thinking and generating interest and momentum. And they can be designed to allow everyone a chance to put forward their ideas. There are different kinds of competitions. You can have, as you can see on the left here, a competition for ideas for improving the town in general, or you can have ideas for a specific site. These particularly photographs were a project I was involved in, where we had a rundown site in a prominent shopping street, and it had been burnt down in a fire, and we got people to sketch their ideas on a standard size sheet of paper. All the ideas were put up on the hoarding of the site, and on one Saturday afternoon the mayor came along, and people during the day stuck sticky dots on the idea that they liked best. And at the end of the day, the mayor presented a prize to the one with the most dots on it. The interesting thing was that site is now an absolutely brilliant public space. It's not the scheme that won the competition, interestingly, because the winning scheme was for a building with colonnades and so on. But this particular idea was, I think, the second winner of the competition, as a public open space. Usually a chessboard people can use for activities, and just wandering from the street here. It's a very nice public space, very popular public space. But what was important was that the ideas competition stimulated the ideas and stimulated people to organise themselves to get that site developed properly, which wouldn't have happened without that. Design Fest. Producing creative concepts for the future of an area by getting multidisciplinary teams to develop and present ideas in public. Now, interestingly, this method was developed in Hong Kong, and this is an example from Hong Kong, which again makes the point that people in different parts of the world are inventing different methods, and then those methods are being exported all around the world. And this is a very interesting part of the process. Draft plan consultation. Consulting on proposals which have already been developed. This is something we've been involved in quite a bit recently. Here you can see a very simple brochure where you have a kind of a cover, explains how people can get involved. There's an open day, there's an exhibition, it tells you what the issues are. There's a kind of bird's eye sketch of the proposals. Then on the inside you've got the proposals explained, and this in itself is a skill to be able to explain quite complex proposals graphically in a way that people can comment on them. And very often architects will produce totally confusing and meaningless drawings which nobody can understand, and therefore they think they can get away with anything. Whereas if you explain things very carefully to them, people, then it's possible for people to comment. So then you have a questionnaire, which the questions relate to the points on the main drawing here, but people also have an open space where they can comment in any way they want to. And this could be a tear-off, a postage-free return thing, making it very easy for people to comment. Community planning events. This is, in a sense, a family of methods, I think I would describe it as. Carefully structured, collaborative events at which all stakeholders, including the local community, work closely with specialists from all relevant disciplines to make plans for the future of that community or some aspect of it. They're often known as charrettes. This is a very popular term, particularly used in America. And it has become a kind of standard way of working for a great many professionals, that they do almost all their work through charrettes of one kind or another. There are different kinds of community planning events. Just to mention a couple, a planning day. Here you might have, might be structured in such a way that you would have briefing workshops in the morning, here, and then after lunch and a site walkabout, maybe have design workshops in the afternoon, and then a kind of next step session at the end of the day. We can see here, not very interesting photograph, but you can see an invited group of key stakeholders working on their small working groups with flip charts and working on either the issues or the designs, and then same from the photograph taken from the same position. You can see everybody swiveling their chairs and each group presenting their ideas on a wall on the left-hand side. Another very popular form of community planning event is the planning weekend, the so-called planning weekend, although in fact it usually lasts for 4 or 5 days. So it starts on a Thursday, and there's a fairly standard structure for these things now, starting on a Thursday, Friday with briefings, social events, Saturdays, design workshops, brainstorming sessions. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this for the time being, but I think the main point to make is that these kind of events, you can achieve more in planning terms than you could with months of normal bureaucratic planning process, where people send bits of paper to other people and they send bits of paper back. This is a process where everybody gets together, you have a deadline, and you have to produce results. Very productive and more efficient way of doing planning. Just one other kind of planning event to mention is the open house event. These have become increasingly popular, and I think that's one thing I've noticed in the last few years is how people prefer to have drop-in events rather than fixed sessions. And this is partly to do, I think, with a general culture of people wanting to be more in control of their own time, to be able to go to things when they want to and to leave when they want to. So you have to design the events in such a way that people can come in, engage in the process, in the issues, and then leave when they want to. And there are various different ways in which you can do this, which are increasingly becoming popular. A different kind of method is worth mentioning: user groups. The creation or strengthening of user groups is a key element of most community planning. User groups act as the clients in championing the views of those who will end up using the end product, and they will then keep the momentum of the process going. And these groups will often morph into other kinds of organisations which are legally set up to deal with planning, deal with land ownership, and deal with finance. So development trusts, or community development corporations as they're known, and land trusts are a similar kind of organisation, which are very useful in terms of taking the development process forward and allowing the community to be permanently involved in the development process. Architecture and planning centres, places set up to help people understand and engage in the design of local buildings and the built environment. Urban regeneration stations, which I've been very interested to see in the last couple of days, I think are a development of this approach, but are maybe taking it in some very interesting directions. Now there is an online version for most of the methods that we've already discussed, plus a great range of new possibilities. Here is a Google map being used to consult on potential housing development sites. Social networking can be used to generate interest and in consultations and to generate debate in its own right. And different platforms can be used to reach different audiences. I suspect a lot of you have had more experience of doing this than I have, but it's been very, very interesting to see how these social networking is being used in community planning. Online consultations are particularly useful for major infrastructure projects or developments where you want to involve people over a wide geographical area. But again, there's basically the same kind of processes that we were talking about earlier, but online. Project work websites, now first priority for almost all project work to set up a website. And this actually overcomes one of the major problems that I think existed in the past, which was maintaining continuity. Planning is a very long-term process. In any particular area, there are going to be development issues which take years to resolve. And so for be able to have a website where you can build up material and people can benefit from the experience that has happened in the past is a huge advantage. Other forms of online consultation, social mapping, toolkits, development control, environmental management, single method sites. There are some websites now set up just to deal with a specific consultation method. And then of course the ability to be able to do surveys online is fantastically helpful. So this, I would say, is the new frontier for methods in community planning.